Welcome to Reddit Blue Pill Red Pill, where we go over Reddit stories and predict the outcome of the stories. Please listen and play along by typing in your choices into the comments. There are 5 seconds to answer, or you can pause the video. Today, we have a story about two sisters that went too far with their insults. All right, let's get on to the story.
This is a burner account. This is also my first time using Reddit, and I'm not entirely sure about what is and isn't allowed here, so I tried to censor things as best as I could. My birthday was a few weeks ago. I usually don't like to make a big deal out of birthdays, but they're very important to my mom, so she held a small family gathering at her and my dad's house to celebrate. I had gotten a few gifts, and my husband handed me an envelope. He is a small celebrity and had given me his autograph as a present. Everyone was familiar with his humor and our dynamic, so they all immediately recognized it as a joke and laughed. He did then give me an actual present in case anyone was wondering.
Okay, so we have here a nice family event celebrating the OP's birthday. Her husband gave her his autograph as a joke gift, followed by the real gift. Seems perfectly fine and very playful. But something tells me not everyone was in on the joke. The OP's husband is a minor celebrity, so his first gift was clearly a joke, but I guess those who may not know of him may have seen the action as weird and out of place. Also, perhaps some may have seen the joke as the husband taking the spotlight away from the OP, but I'm just speculating here. What do you think? If you think the OP's husband's autograph gift was fine and in good taste, type Q1 blue in the comments. If you think the gift was not a good idea, type Q1 red.
Later, my cousin texted me screenshots of my sister shit-talking my husband and saying I was so obsessed with fame that I let him treat me like shit. She is going through a divorce right now, so instead of immediately getting mad, I called my sister to hear her out. She doubled down, saying that if I had any self-respect, I'd divorce him because he's abusive. I tried explaining that it was a joke and that we often make playful jabs at each other, but we both know the other person's boundaries and when it's going too far.
The OP's sister started to badmouth her husband over the joke gift, apparently seeing it as a sign of abuse. But since her sister is going through a divorce right now, maybe she is hyper-vigilant to look for any perceived acts of abuse from men. The way the OP describes the situation makes it seem innocuous, but maybe it wasn't as innocent as she makes it out to be. Maybe her husband's jokes aren't as well received as she implies, and her sister is letting her know it. The sister has seen a pattern of abuse from the OP's husband, which is why she snapped and started bad-mouthing him after the party. Once again, this is just speculation. I'm just trying to see how the joke gift could have been perceived by the sister as anything other than a clear and harmless joke. Maybe the OP has a blind spot to her husband's jokes, or is the sister just pissed off at the world due to her crumbling marriage? If you think the sister has a point and the OP's husband is abusive, type Q2 red in the comments. If you think the sister is nuts and just causing drama to make others miserable like she is, type Q2 blue.
She responded by saying I should go back to the psych ward for how delusional I was being, and again told me to get a divorce. Rapidly losing my patience, I told her that I appreciate her concern, but my marriage is my business and I am very happy with my relationship. She'd run out of insults apparently, so she just repeated that I need to be in a psych ward and my husband is abusive. This time adding that I probably only love him because he's just like my father.
The sister is definitely getting far too personal with the insults. She is telling the OP to go back to the psych ward, implying the OP had been there before. If so, that is a very mean-spirited thing to say. Plus, the OP is being very reserved despite everything, trying to get her sister to calm down. But the sister's obviously lashing out at others over her own failed marriage. Maybe she wants to sabotage the OP's marriage as a way to feel better about her own predicament. And if so, then it may be a subconscious action. Would you give the sister a break just this once, since she's clearly lashing out at the world and in need of help herself? Or would you not tolerate her behavior despite her circumstances? If you think the sister should be given a break and just forget about the discussion, then type Q3 blue in the comments. If you think the OP should get her back with her own mean-spirited insults, then type Q3 red.
To info dump a bunch of context. My biological father is a very terrible person who is in jail and not allowed to have any contact with me or my mom. I've struggled with a multitude of mental illnesses my entire life. When I was 13, I had psychosis, and not knowing what else to do, my parents admitted me to a psych ward. It was the single most traumatizing experience of my life. All of that to explain why her comments got me so angry and hurt so much.
Now we see why the sister chose to insult the OP in the manner she did. The OP has struggled with mental issues in the past, and her sister knew that. To use the lowest point in someone's life to insult them, and your sister at that, is despicable. But something tells me the OP isn't going to let this one slide. There are no questions here, so let's continue.
I was used to her telling me to go to a psych ward. It's the only good insult she's ever come up with, so she says it every time she's mad at me. But her comparing my husband to a monster and calling that monster my father when our dad has raised me my entire life just set me over the edge. I replied by saying, just because you f***ed up your third marriage by being too much of a massive doesn't mean you get to try and f*** up mine. Before hanging up.
The OP finally hung up the phone on her abusive sister, but not before laying out a huge personal dig at the sister. But should the OP have even engaged back at the sister at all? Remember the saying, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Blasting her sister may make the OP feel better in the moment, but will anything positive come of it? On the grand scheme of things, which insult do you think cut the deepest? If you think the insult the sister lobbed at the OP was worse, mentioning her past mental issues and her abusive biological father, type Q4 red in the comments. If you think the OP said the harshest insult, mentioning how she had ruined her third marriage, type Q4 blue.
Initially, I didn't think this was that bad of an insult. I'm fully aware that it was too harsh, but we've both said worse things to each other before. My sister told pretty much our whole family, and while a few are neutral, most, including my parents, are furious. I thought I was just giving back what she dished out, but I'm starting to wonder if I really fucked up.
In all honesty, the OP's insult was not that harsh and totally warranted considering how much of an a-hole her sister was acting as. The sister may have also exaggerated what the OP had actually said. Still, it must have felt really personal for the OP to mention the termination of her third marriage. But then again, the sister was the first one to lob deeply personal insults, mocking her for her past mental issues and mentioning her biological father, whom the OP has purposely distanced herself from. What do you ultimately think? Was the OP justified in insulting back her sister with the same vindictiveness she had first been attacked with? If so, type Q5 red in the comments. If you think the OP should have been the bigger woman and not gone tit for tat with her clearly spiraling sister, type Q5 blue. Now let's listen to a few comments.
Yeah, she definitely told them a version of the story where she played the calm and concerned sister, and you just lashed out at her out of nowhere.
Also, they are all probably used to hearing that vitriol from her, so they mostly ignore it. Definitely a stirring drama queen. I'd probably set the parents straight about what really happened, and then take a long break from the sister.
Crybully. Such a wonderful word to describe these thin-skinned hypocrites who get mad when they get treated in kind with how they treat others.
Not the a-hole. Some people focus on individual words like they are the worst things, regardless of context, but I think the evil web of mindfuckery your sister said to you to try to make you doubt yourself and your relationship were the truly terrible things said and were worthy of a strong reaction. That said, in the future, it might be better to not use words that people can grab onto and use to derail the whole conversation, making the whole thing about the one word you said, with anything they did or said somehow automatically erased because you uttered the one bad word.
Not the a-hole? I think you summed everything up nicely. She's jealous and bitter and trying to blow up your marriage, or she's just a basic bully and can't handle being called out. Either way, I would step away from this train wreck before you get caught up in her drama and chaos.
She's getting divorced for the third time? Wow, she has absolutely no room to talk about anybody's marriage. You said nothing wrong. You defended yourself and your husband.
I'm Australian, so use of that word starting with C is completely normal and acceptable. Not in a professional setting, but certainly in common speech. The part about her having 3 failed marriages was probably so true that she couldn't handle it. The only way to push back was to be the louder one and share her story first, making you the villain. It doesn't mean she's right. Not the a-hole.
Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching all the way to the end and participating. Please consider liking and subscribing to watch future videos. Goodbye.